Welcome to Paddock Talk, guys, where I bring you the latest F1 news with my views as we head to Spa. It's all been going off this week, hasn't it, as everybody's trying to get their house in order before the summer break. And I'm talking Audi in trouble before a wheel's been turned. The big F1 driver swap secret finally out. And my F1 predictions are already in tatters before we've turned a wheel in Spa. And let's just straight into that. Max Verstappen potentially going to take a 10-place grid penalty for the power unit that blew up in Canada. Looks like that couldn't be repaired. Honda has been back at the factory in Honda for weeks now since that Grand Prix for them to try and resolve it, but it's not happening. And I had Max Verstappen to start on pole position in Spa, and well, if he takes a 10th place grid pen, it's definitely not happening, is it? And I think if that happens, he will struggle here this weekend, doesn't it? He's not got the dominant car that they once had. I think they will suit better in Spa than any other drivers. The balance of the car is generally really good, and last time out they dominated there, but last year's car was somewhat significantly better than this one. All this field have just cut up that much more, haven't they? And they'll be in for a tight race from here. And well, that 7 points that Norris threw away last time out will potentially prove more crucial, won't they, depending if they can take the win here. And also, Max has been banned from more future late night sim racing on Grand Prix weekends. We kept hearing Crofty bang on about it in the race. I did talk about it a little bit as well. I mean, he did it in Imola, where he woke up in the morning and swiped the race, didn't he, and won at a canter. Wasn't much trouble there when he's winning. But I think he'd probably just tame it down a little bit more going forward. And that's really the Max news. The big driver market news finally revealed. Esteban Ocon is taking the seat in the vacant seat finally. Kevin Magnussen was relieved of his duties at the end of this year. That was confirmed before the last race. And now Ocon has finally been confirmed in that seat. We knew he was taking that seat for some time. Actually, it's probably a decent time to jump, isn't it? Haas seem to be on a bit of a revival. They've done really well this season, especially considering how they've started off and where they've ended up so far. A decent haul of points from Nico Hülkenberg, but an all-new driver lineup for the Haas team, Ollie Behrman and Ocon. That'll be interesting, that pairing, won't they? They needed someone with experience. He's still only young, 27, Esteban Ocon, so a young driver but with a lot of Formula 1 experience, and they needed someone like that to balance it off with Ollie Behrman. It's probably the right way to go, I think, for most teams, to have that young pretender that could potentially do something brilliant, and Ollie's got that potential, and now Esteban alongside him guide him. But Esteban's been fiery as a teammate, isn't he? And it'll be interesting to see how the dynamic works with him helping out a younger guy, especially if Ollie's as fast, or if not faster, than Ocon in that car. We don't know how that'll work yet, so it'll be really quite interesting to see how that one pans out. But interesting news nonetheless. And the other big one, Audi in trouble way before an engine's been switched on. They've even taken their name onto the F1 field. Andre Seidel, the big McLaren signing that they drew upon to take Audi to the front, and Oliver Hoffman have been in what's reported a bit of a battle of a power struggle between them, haven't it? And actually, it did look like at one stage either one of them would go, but who'd have thought? Both gone. In comes Mattia Bonotto, the funky looking Ferrari man. He did a brilliant job there, didn't he, actually, in Ferrari? Revived them back to the front. Didn't quite get them to winning championship levels, but he's got the experience now, and he's taken over both of their roles. I'm sure that'll be only short term until they can get someone in, because it's quite a big job that he's taken on. Oliver Hoffman was the CEO. Andrea Seidel was the F1 manager. They've said it, they're looking at it as a complete restructure. They probably had too many structures in place, and they want to be the dynamic team, kind of like Red Bull, that are small enough to think on their feet and move quickly, and it worked fantastically well for Red Bull, and they are probably trying to mimic that in the management style. Hülkenberg also said he was shocked at the news. The two people that hired him have both gone, so he's he will be getting on with Mattia Binotto, I'm sure. But is this the move that Audi needed to convince Carlos Sainz to join? Mattio's obviously worked with Carlos, brought him into the team at Ferrari. And so it'll be interesting to see if that is ultimately the end goal of Audi. They are really keen to get Sainz in. Potentially have troubles on the financial sides of that as well. I know Ralf Schumacher normally does put out some random news, does Ralf, but more so, especially when talking to about F1 stuff, not always on the mark with it, but rumours of a big shortfall in their finances, and that's why they kept Zhou Guanyu on for 24, and potentially they might do the same for 25 if that continues. But their long target has been Carlos Sainz. More doors opening for Carlos, potentially the Red Bull seat if Perez goes. We'll find out his future. At the end of Spa, Marco Helmut and Christian Horner meeting in the UK on Monday after Spa to discuss what's going to happen with Sergio Perez. Now, Helmut Marco has said we'll talk about the procedure of what will happen with Perez. Now, the word procedure really did intrigue me a little bit. It sounds more like how they're going to weed him out of the team rather than how we're going to help him and improve things. I think they've exhausted more options there at Red Bull, but it really shows what a poor decision, and the decision makings at Red Bull have been really quite questionable recently, of a team that have been so dominant and so well run. A lot of issues going there. So the procedure side of that, as Marco's words were, looks like the door is potentially, no matter what Perez does at Belgium, the decision's done and who would come in. Now the rumours are that Liam Lawson is the main man for that. I'm a bit surprised by that. I think Yuki Tsunoda would be the man for me. He's been good in the Racing Bulls. He's the young man, but Helmut doesn't apparently like him there. But there's obviously also that power struggle with Helmut and Christian Horner, so who will get the last say on that one? Who knows? But yeah, if it is Lawson, most likely rumoured at the moment, I would be massively surprised. The problem is with Yuki, he's just really signed with Racing Bulls, but all we can know that can change and they can move drivers between the two teams really quite easily. So we'll wait and see on that one. And finally, the fantastically looking Alpine, a Deadpool and Wolverine one-off livery for Spa, and check it out. How nice does this look? The helmets, I think they just look absolutely brilliant. Look at Esteban Ocon's helmet. What a fantastic job they've done on this livery. Hopefully more like it going forward. And finally, the FIA have confirmed that the points will remain up to 10th place only. A decision that came out that was raised a few months back, wasn't it? Was finally discussed and confirmed. A unanimous decision to keep it to 10th place on Tuesday before the Belgian Grand Prix, and a bit of a shame really. I would have really liked them to stretch that to 12 points, which 12th place, which was recommended or put forward by a couple of teams. It would have been so much more fantastic to see them guys. The top 8 places are pretty much taken by the top 4 teams, and we've got 6 teams fighting out for 2 positions or 2 points paying positions. And it would have been brilliant to see them guys to be able to fight for a couple more points. They fight like no one's business for nothing, so to have a couple of points on the line, I'm sure we'd get some really good, hard, feisty racing, and I think we might lose out a little bit on that. But there we have it. Some news on the cost cap budgets now. They are looking that they might adjust that slightly now. Things like the catering budgets and staff party budgets will potentially come out of the cost cap. Potentially Red Bull were the ones that pushed that forward, and Christian Horner saying that they've had some good constructive talks on that, but a decision will come in October. But so interesting to see how that one plays out. And there we have it, the driver market in full swing. Another 2 places sorted. Magnussen out. Where does that leave him? Likely a reserve seat now. I think that's the end of his line for him in F1. Haas have left the door open for him to remain in F1, either as a test or reserve driver. His core is to sort of try and stay in Formula 1. I think the big mover really for the next 4 or 5 seats is 5 seats remaining at Mercedes, Red Bull, Alpine, Williams and Sauber. And I think once the Carlos Sainz seat is sorted, the rest of the 4 will fall in place. But all new lineup at Haas, which will be really interesting to see how that one pans out. Big news ahead of Spa. It should be a really good weekend, hopefully. And let's see what happens with this max penalty. I'm sure we'll find out more as the weekend progresses, most definitely by Saturday. But thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and comment as always. I'm getting a lot more comments recently. I've absolutely enjoyed your comments. Positive, negative, everything. Throw them at me. Love it. Thanks for watching. See you next time.